Hi everyone, Lisa here from Cool Kids Hub. So today I wanted to talk about baby co-sleeping safety. Now, whether you decide to co-sleep with your baby is obviously very much a personal choice. And even the experts really cannot agree around baby co-sleeping safety. Now, when someone thinks about co-sleeping, they often just think about bed sharing. So having your little one, your baby in the bed with you and or your partner. But co-sleeping actually takes two forms. It can either be bed sharing, where your baby is in the physical bed with you, or it can also be room sharing. Now, like I said, the experts really can't agree on whether or not, what are the sort of benefits, risks associated with co-sleeping, particularly with bed sharing. And so this video is not really going to be about statistics and risks. I really would recommend that you educate yourself with regarding what are the risks and statistics around bed sharing. And two great sources are the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, and also Professor James P. McKenna. Now, he actually advocates for bed sharing and has a book, which I'll put the link to the book in the description of this video, that if you are considering, bed sharing, you might want to have a look. So, like I said, this, video is more to talk about how do you make sure that you co-sleep safely with your little one, because whilst there isn't any scientific data or evidence around the safety of co-sleeping or not co-sleeping. And like I said, the experts don't really agree. One thing that they do agree on is that there are certain factors and circumstances that do increase the risk of SIDS or suffocation, either from someone in the bed or from furniture. So there are certain things, regardless, that you do need to make sure that you do and do not do. So let's just first talk about some of the do nots. Now, we are talking specifically if you're considering bed sharing with your little one. So if you are considering that, do not bed share if you or your partner have taken drugs at all in any form, then do not bed share. If you are overly tired, now this is really tricky, obviously, because when you're a new mom, you're often overtired. But the challenge is that if you're overly tired, then you may not wake up, to see to your little one if they start to get into some kind of breathing difficulties being in the bed with you. Do not bed share with your baby if you have other children, other infants or toddlers in the bed with you. If you smoked at all during pregnancy, or your partner smokes, or you smoke, even if you don't smoke in the bedroom, then you should not bed share. You must never place your baby on their stomach. Obviously, don't cover your little one's head with any pillows or blankets or bedding, and don't place them near the top of the pillows either. The other thing you don't want to do is if your baby is preterm, so if you've had a prem baby, do not bed share with them. Your baby should not be in a wrap or a swaddle. So if you are going to bed share, then they cannot be wrapped or swaddled in any way. Obviously, don't put your little one next to the edge of the bed because they the risk of falling out. But also do not put a pillow along the edge to stop them from rolling out, because they could suffocate in, obviously if they roll and move onto that pillow. And then never fall asleep with your little one on a couch or like in an armchair. And don't put your little one down for a sleep on the couch. The reason is with couches and sort of armchairs, there's a lot of soft spots, right? Cushions and the backs of the chair and the sides where your little one could roll into and become wedged. So those are really some of the critical do nots if you are going to consider bed sharing. So now that we've talked about some of the do nots, what are some of the do's that you should be doing if you're going to consider bed sharing? Well, the first thing is you've got to make sure that you've got really light blanketing. So no heavy blankets or bedding on the bed. You should have no spaces that your little one could become wedged in. So if you've got a bed that's up against the wall, the best thing is to move your bed into the middle of the room so your little one doesn't become wedged between the wall and the bed. What you could preferably, as opposed to being in the bed with you, is to actually, if you can, is invest in a co-sleeper. I will put a link to some co-sleepers for you to have a look at. But these essentially are like little cribs that attach onto the bed. So your baby is really very close to you, but they're not physically in the bed with you. And this is obviously just helps to increase that safety element. Um, if you do fall asleep, because one of the things when you bed share is that, you're obviously nursing your little one and you might fall asleep while you're doing that. So if that does happen and you fall asleep whilst nursing your little one, then the moment you wake up, make sure that you're putting your little one onto their back, turning them over and putting them onto their back. Have a firm mattress in your bed, because obviously if you've got a very soft mattress, again, they could, sink into it and potentially suffocate. Make sure that, do make sure that that bedding stays away from your little one, and so they don't become tangled inside the bedding. Make sure that you do not put your little one to sleep. So make sure that you don't put them to sleep in between you. So do put them on the side, not in between. Have your little one in a sleep bag. Again, I'll put a link to some sleep bags in the description of this video, but don't, like I said, you can't wrap them or swaddle them. So you need to have them in a sleep bag so they're still, getting enough warmth, because you can't have all this bedding that they potentially could be tangled up in. And if you do, if your little one's a little bit older and you're using like a teething necklace or something like that, make sure that you're removing anything like that before you put them down for sleep. So those are some of the do's. Now, there are obviously some risks and benefits associated with both bed sharing and room sharing. So I just want to talk about some of the benefits. Now, obviously, one of the very big benefits is breastfeeding's a lot easier. It's particularly if you bed share, your little one needs to be fed, you can just roll over, put your little one onto your breast and feed. This does actually often increase the number of feeds, which is not a bad thing. So that, that's kind of a benefit. Those experts that are very pro bed or room sharing also say that, babies get more sleep because, they're next to you. If they do wake, you can comfort them, so they get more sleep. And also you as the parent often gets more sleep because you're obviously not up, going to their room, coming back into the bed after you're feeding, so you yourself can also, get more sleep. They also say that babies, now this is whether they bed share or room share, so room sharing has a very big benefit here, is that babies are often happier. And the reason is that babies respond very favorably, obviously, as you would expect, to your touch, your smell. Obviously, they're closer to you, so again, you can comfort them. These babies often cry less and generally are just happier babies. Also, another big benefit, especially if you don't get an opportunity to see your little one much during the day, if you're back at work, you're obviously, having them in your bed or in your room means that you get to spend a little bit more time with them and see them more than you would if they were in their own room. And then being in the room with you, so in other words, not bed sharing, but room sharing, can actually reduce the risk of SIDS by up to 50%. So, but we're talking here specifically about room sharing. So this is where the baby is in your room, but in their own crib, not in the bed with you. And obviously another big benefit is you don't have that separation anxiety, which your baby might not experience straight away, but babies, when they get a little bit older, they do some of them can go through that separation anxiety when they're in the room. And obviously if they're in the room or bed with you, then one of the big benefits is that they don't go through that separation anxiety. So what are some of the risks associated? Well, first of all, bed sharing does increase the risk of SIDS. Now, room sharing does not, and like I said, it actually can reduce SIDS. So room sharing is completely safe, but bed sharing can actually increase the risk of SIDS. Now, those people that are sort of against bed or room sharing will say that parents get less sleep, particularly if the baby is in the bed next to you, because for a few things, babies are noisy sleepers and they're very light sleepers. So often what happens is, especially when babies are going through from one sleep cycle to another, they can sometimes murmur, they can cry out a little bit, and then as a parent, your automatic response is to respond to that. Maybe you can give them some comforting and shushing, so you actually might be waking up and unnecessarily, because if they're in their own room, you might not hear those small little noises that they do make when they're sleeping. And the other thing is that it can result in less sleep for the baby. Again, people, experts who are against sort of specifically bed sharing will say the baby gets less sleep because you're moving around, so therefore they're getting, because they are light sleepers, disturbed by your movement in the bed. And also, like I said, because your automatic instinct is to respond to them. If you hear them, you could inadvertently be waking them up when actually they were just transitioning from one sleep cycle to the next, and you're kind of checking on them and maybe patting them and shushing them, actually inadvertently waking them up, so it can result in less sleep for the baby. Babies that are obviously being in your bed or room can struggle to transition into their own bedroom, or specifically into their own cots and cribs at a later point in time. And also, these babies are less likely to learn to fall asleep on their own, because very often, particularly babies that bed share, they're used to sort of breastfeeding for comfort, and therefore they don't learn to fall asleep on their own. So that's just some of the risks. And obviously, there's less intimacy between parents because, you've got a baby in the bed. So that's another sort of disadvantage. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, experts can't even agree around, the risks associated specifically with bed sharing. Room sharing, there's a lot more consensus on that. In actual fact, room sharing can be very good for your baby. But regardless of what you decide, whether you're going to bed share or room share or not do any and let your little one sleep in their own room, it is a personal choice. But the important thing is to make sure you're prepared, so you know what the do's and the don'ts are in setting up the right environment for you and your baby. You have, fully understand what the potential risks as well as benefits are, and then you make an informed decision. So I will put a link to all the resources that I've talked about in the video. And like I said, the American Academy of Pediatrics is a really great resource if you want to kind of understand some of the potential risks that are associated, specifically when it comes to bed sharing. All right, everybody, that's it for now. Bye.